episode 15 or 14 of wow, I'm already starting off really well. ChatLoopBackOff. It is May 23rd, 2024. This is a program that dives deep into one of the many projects in the cloud native landscape. If we've never met before, hello. My name is Jeffrey Sica, but many people know me as Jiffy. That's like my GitHub handle and Twitter and everything. I'm thrilled to have you here and joining us for today's episode where we're going to focus on SchemaHero, which is a cloud-native way to handle database schema migrations, which is not something I would have expected to say out loud like 5 years ago, but the cloud-native landscape evolves. If you've never tuned into this live stream before, welcome. This is a sibling to the similarly named ClashLoopBackOff, like I said earlier. But in ClashLoopBackOff, that's an event that is been featured at the last few KubeCons. In that one, we have two community members that are pitted against one another in a sort of technical community challenge. I come up with weird, fun things for them to try and do under a time crunch and with different constraints, and then the audience gets to watch two people flail. Or read documentation, it kind of depends. It is meant to be laid back for the audience, but not necessarily for the people participating. This stream is a little more of a choose-your-own-adventure version of ClashLoopBackOff, where we pick one topic or project and then we learn it live. So with that goal in mind, I have not done any in-depth research on the topic. Usually what I will do is I will open up the website, make sure there's a place where I can click Getting Started or Quick Start Guide, and that's it. I just want to make sure that I don't have to spend a half an hour trying to set up the project for a demo live. But if that ever does happen, I'll probably still do it live because I want to show that there are different hurdles to follow. Anyways, like I said, I like diving deep into these topics with fresh eyes and showing how I would personally learn, even if like there wasn't a camera, there wasn't a stream or anything. This is quite literally what I would do just on my laptop and usually with music playing. But doing that live, hopefully we all walk away having learned something new, and hopefully it's somewhat entertaining for y'all. During this live stream, please feel free to drop questions in the chat. I'll try to get to as many as possible. Like I said, we are here to learn together. So if you happen to know the answer to something or I'm stuck and you have an idea, speak up. Feel free to backseat. I would much rather be answering questions and just kind of staring at my screen the whole time. All of that said, this is an official live stream of the CNCF, and it is subject to the CNCF Code of Conduct. Please do not add anything to the chat or ask questions that would violate that code of conduct. Basically, respect me, respect other people in chat, and respect people that may be watching on YouTube later on. Speaking of, this video will be posted on our YouTube channel afterwards, so folks that couldn't make the live stream can still learn just asynchronously. Only real piece of news, I guess, no, off the top of my head, there's two pieces of news to bring up. The first one is in the end of June, so a little over a month from now, we will have Cloud Native Security Con. That is a not as big as a KubeCon, but it is a conference that the CNCF puts out that specializes specifically in cloud native security, as the name implies. It will be June 26th through 27th, and it will be in Seattle. I will be sure to put a link in the show notes afterwards around that. Second off, every other month, usually the TOC or Technical Oversight Committee looks and assesses a bunch of projects that have applied to become sandbox projects. And that next vote is going to be on June 11th. So in a couple weeks, we are going to have a whole new slew of sandbox projects that we might get to look at. And while I was thinking about that, third piece of news, all around the globe on June, is it 7th? I just know it's in 2 weeks. Let me double check. June 6th. So everywhere around the globe on June 6th, we are going to be collectively celebrating Kubernetes' 10th birthday. We're calling it Kubernetes because, you know, we're good at naming things. I know that there are going to be different local events. If you can find one, please attend. I also know we're going to be live streaming some things, so that should be fun. And it's kind of wild to think that Kubernetes itself has been around for 10 years now. So, yay, happy birthday. All right, let me get all these things together and get ready to share my screen. And then we can dive into SchemaHero. Share. Ba-boop. Thank you, thank you. All right, as usual, I will post show notes and everything in the ChatLoopBackOff GitHub repo after this. I may have forgotten to do the last one. I will be fixing that tonight. I already started this off. As usual, there will be a YouTube link here, and then we kind of just type things out as we go along. So let's talk about what I think my preconceived notions of what SchemaHero does based on their website. Boop, boop. Declarative database schema migrations. SchemaHero is an open source database schema migration tool. Converts definitions into scripts that can be applied to any environment. It is both a CLI utility and an operator. This is I think, the probably biggest value here. So what do I think that means? I think that means SchemaHero lets us define a database schema. Oh my gosh, I can't type today. Within YAML, think Kate's YAML. And once applied, an operator will reconcile the schema with the running DB. Let's see how close I am to that. But first, let's actually get things running. So get started. Okay, so SchemaHero has two different components, the operator, which I think is going to be really cool, and a client-side kubectl plugin that you use to interact with the operator. This is a pattern that I have been seeing more and more of to an extent. So like Cilium, I know Cilium has a binary essentially where you download the binary and then it uses your kube config to connect to a Kubernetes cluster, and then you can do things like Cilium status, Cilium. Actually, can I do that with my home lab right now? Do I have Cilium installed? Cool. So like a good example. So Cilium, pretty well-known project, CNI, and my home lab, I use Cilium. And I can do things like Cilium status, and it will, output a bunch of info about the Cilium install. So the pattern that I'm talking about is having a client-side way to interact and improve the kind of user experience for configuring, querying, just interacting with the server side. I feel like I just said we're doing client server stuff all over again, and that's probably correct. But it is a common pattern, and we're seeing it more and more here. So make that a little bigger. So they're using Crew, which is a Kubernetes package manager, or Kubernetes, kubectl package manager, but it is a Kubernetes subproject. So we can install SchemaHero using kubectl Crew. And let's actually make that work. Crew, do I have kubectl Crew? I do, good. I forget if I had installed it or not. Kubectl Crew, or Crew itself, I think that's actually worth talking about. Oh, hey. This does not come pre-packaged with kubectl. This is something that you will have to install separately. There are varying ways to do it. Me personally, I'm pretty sure I followed these ZSH instructions because I use ZSH as my shell. But I want everyone to understand that there is an added step here to install kubectl crew. It's just not part of SchemaHero. It's not unique to SchemaHero. So let's install that plugin. You've installed the plugin SchemaHero from the crew index. These plugins are not audited for security by crew maintainers. Run them at your own risk. You have been warned. But hey, we got there. Okay, so now let's do kubectl SchemaHero version. And we're at 0.178. So I'm curious. Boom. That was released last week. Awesome. So that is pretty well up to date. So now we need to actually deploy or install SchemaHero. I don't want to do that to my home lab, so let's create a kind cluster. And while that is doing that, commands we ran. I'm going to need to double check, but I think we did kubectl crew install. Can I push the bottom of my terminal up a bit? Absolutely. This one? Yeah, probably. Let me know if that's better, Daniel. And then let me try and make this a little better. All right, so pretty sure we did kubectl crew install SchemaHero, and then we did kubectl SchemaHero version. Just want to make sure. Yep, kubectl SchemaHero version, no problem. And now we have created our kind cluster. So kind is another Kubernetes sub-project that lets it. Kind stands for Kubernetes and Docker. It's a lightweight way to spin up Kubernetes clusters. Some people choose K3s, some people use Minikube, then there's kind. There's no right way. I just have a bias for kind, and also kind is what the Kubernetes project uses in all of its CI. So take that for what it is. And we should be in our kind cluster. Get nodes. Cool. So let's install SchemaHero. What I think I'm also going to need to do, and this might take a couple minutes and be a little bit of a distraction, I might be installing or have to spin up some sort of a database, I imagine. That was painless. Okay, so it created a new namespace, SchemaHero system, and is running SchemaHero 0, just because I'm curious. Okay, so it's just starting it, and I imagine this is the operator that's kind of doing a reconcile loop, watching for any CRDs. So did it install any CRDs? There we go. Okay, it did. So there's databases, migrations, tables, and views. Cool. An alternative approach is you can generate YAML that can be checked in, and then if you were doing something with, say, Flux or Argo or any other like GitOps workflow, you can install SchemaHero that way. So they don't lock you into requiring the install to be done through the client. That's good. And I may or may not have already did that. Ooh. Do I have Cosign installed on this desktop? Let's do it. So you can verify the image authenticity. I think it was, what did I say? 17.8? Yeah. Zero dot 17.8. Oh, download the public key. Derp. Let's do that. Copy link. Well, that was dumb. I'm going too fast. Awesome. So using cosine and actually following directions, we can verify that this is exactly what we expect it to be. Yay, cosine and Sigstore. I am not going to bother downloading an SBOM. That is kind of silly. Not silly, but for this demo, kind of silly. Okay, so we went through SchemaHero is installed in our cluster, and we have the client side. So let's try and connect up a database. And it looks like there are different database types that we can connect. Before deploying databases, the CRD for databases defines the object that can be referenced in tables. Okay, so there's a... Okay, sorry. So this is just defining how we can actually use the database schema, or rather, sorry, the database's CRD. The connection URI is probably a better example. So what I'm going to do next is look for Postgres Helm chart that we can just kind of throw into this kind cluster and get something running. You seem as good as any. That worked well. Okay, so let's get the Postgres password for our lovely thing. That works. And now we're going to start. I'm going to have to backfill this as we go. But now I'm going to have to start creating YAML files, I imagine. So we're going to create our database file. Sorry if I'm bouncing around a little bit. All right, so username will be username will be Postgres, and then the password will be that. Now let's see what my release Postgres. I'm copying the cluster IP because I am lazy. This is not the right way to do it. The right way to do it would be referencing the internal DNS name for that. But for now, I mean, bear with me. And then we don't have a database name, do we? Does it create a default database? Oh, database. The default database would be Postgres. Oh, this actually created, I was kind of dumb. This created the Postgres instance in the same namespace. Okay. So what happens if I just apply this? I'm going to do something really quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to output the logs for the SchemaHero pod, and then I'm going to do the apply here. So we now have a Golang error. I'm going to need to shrink this so I can actually reasonably read it. Sorry. I'm curious if it can't talk to the database. So let's look at if it fails. I will be disappointed if SchemaHero has an issue or an error connecting to a database if it just throws a stack trace and not like a meaningful error. That will be kind of disappointing. Let's try that instead. So let's try this parameter approach where we're specifying the connection as Postgres. I would be curious how many different databases they support. That's something I want to look at once I finish this thought. So let's say, let's do it the right way. Username is Postgres. Password is, I already forgot. I'm going to have to go look. Okay, now let's see if it throws an angry error again. Port. Oh no, that kind of looks like an integer. Oh, must be of type string. Okay, so their docs are actually wrong. That needs to be a string. And we did not get an error this time. I don't see any new connections though. I'm going to plug my eyes and ears, go la la la, and then go to managing tables to see if we can do something like create a new table with this. And then if that doesn't work, then we know that something else is wrong in our database config. Let me throw that up right now again. Okay. It might also be that I need to kill that SchemaHero pod and then have it kind of, let me do that really quick. That's cheap and easy. Okay, so starting database controller, updating role is not implemented, role binding not implemented. Okay. What if I kind of want to see if it would create a database that doesn't exist? Is that something like a modernized operator controller based flyway? Essentially, yes. The whole idea behind SchemaHero is you can define your schemas and your schema migrations in Kubernetes YAML in their CRDs. So if you're running your databases in, that's a really good question, Damien, I'll look. So if you are defining your schemas and migrations in a file elsewhere, or you have your database in Kubernetes, it kind of makes sense to also put all of that in Kubernetes so Kubernetes can continually try to steer the cluster and the database in the cluster towards what you want. That is a fantastic question. Is there a status in the CRD? Databases, MyDB. Immediate deploy is false. There are no events. So the answer to that is no. That might not be bad because there might not be any events at this point. It might not even try and connect to the database yet. It might only try and do that once there's actually a schema defined or a table defined and then a migration. So that's kind of why I want to move on to defining a new table. What I wanted to try really quick is right now I'm setting the database name as Postgres because that's the only database that's in there right now. What if we put Gphy, right? No, nah, shush. You are not shushing. Hey. Someone needs to go out soon. Okay. So that was when I reapplied that to a table that does not exist. But there's still no yes, no, maybe so, any sort of logs. I'm going to switch this back to Postgres, and then we're going to try and create a table in there. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to do it over here. See, this did its whole reconcile loop and did not error that time. So I'm a little, or maybe it did. Whatever, we're going to try and create a table, see what happens. All right, so in this case, it's going to create a table called session. I'm going to name that just in case there's already one in the Postgres like database already. ID text, user ID text, expires at, okay. So the table we're going to name is there's a table in there already named that, there is something weird going on. F table.yaml. Oh, I can never remember this. Blah. Oh my God, I forgot. This is the pain of dealing with databases in Kubernetes. For those who don't know. So in this case, the pod is doing a good thing in that it has a very restricted user. In fact, it has a user that doesn't exist. So when you exec in, you have to specify 1000. Oh, right. All right, well, I'm ready to actually... exec as a crew plugin. That's actually funny that we just talked about that. It's kubeconfig user. Some days, friends, some days. And the password was... A. That was the thing I was trying to remember. I think I have to specify the database that I want to connect to. Was that C Postgres? Yes. So it did not create any databases or any tables, I'm sorry. Let's make sure that my ancient knowledge is not out of date. Nope. So /DT lists all tables. I want to leave that open. Let's come back over here. Let's wait pod SchemaHero, see if that'll kick it around. Starting database controller, updating role is not implemented. Binding is not implemented. Service count is not implemented. I wonder if to specify the full thing here. Yes. Declarative manifests and the prices we pay afterwards. Hey, 80% of the time it works every time. Let's not talk about that 20%. Oh my gosh. Kubernetes.local service discovery. I can't remember it anymore. And I do a tutorial for this like once a year. .svc.cluster.local. There we go. So we want to do that I already forgot the namespace we're in. SchemaHero system. .svc.cluster.local. So let's probably watch this throw an angry error because I'm going to change this file. Sure enough. And now let's do that down here, actually. No, I want to be able to see more. Am I dumb? Nope. 5432. It's looking at that port. It is finding the pod correctly. It has an endpoint. Any schemas in the DB? Good question. I would have imagined that by creating that table, it would have created the table. But yeah, let's find out. I should just show all schemas. Did I have DT there already? No. You know, the fun thing is, truly, like 10 plus years ago, I used to be a database admin. Okay, template 0, template 1, probably not what we're talking about. I want to make sure there's nothing in there about templates. The Bitnami Helm chart is not using your SchemaHero namespace. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it is. So right now we're in the SchemaHero namespace. And this is the release. So because I didn't specify the namespace in when I installed it, it installed it in the SchemaHero system namespace because I was already in there. Oh no, I have to go back and do that again. I was too impatient. Oh, no, you're good, dude. If you haven't noticed, we are here to kind of laugh at my ignorance together. All right, someone else said list all schemas, and I can't remember how to do that. List all schemas, Postgres. Good enough for me. So if I recall, those are like supposed to be the normal schemas. Postgres primary key, columns. Am I missing something crazy? I feel like this would have actually been in my wheelhouse. Okay, I'm going to step back and actually read for once. To create a new table, define the initial table schema in a YAML manifest with kind table. Kind table. All right, we got that right. SchemaHero will see the new table request, connect the database, and run the appropriate connect table or create table commands. Create a simple table that stores session information in a database. We might want Postgres. Looks like this, and here is the output. Immediate deploy, schema, Postgres. Well, that answered my question from earlier, much earlier. Postgres and MySQL are the main two that it supports. And those that are compliant to that. They had a tutorial and I totally missed it. I should have been doing this the whole time. I totally missed this in the documentation. I'm going to be honest. We're going to delete everything I just did, and we're going to try and get this in the next 5 minutes, I think. It is 2 years old. That is a little sketchy. Manifest in this repo, support the tutorial. Files in this directory contain very fictitious airline database schema. Wait, what? Schema. Ooh, this actually, I think this would actually let us know if SchemaHero is talking to the database or not. Helps if I can't type right. Database name, Postgres. Oh. Oh. But I'm not in the default namespace. Oh, I guess you actually have to specify the namespace in this command. Okay, I'm not going to freak out. Shell namespace schema hero system Postgres. Oop. Blah. Shell namespace in the hero system, and then we're going to do mydb. Shell command is not allowed for database mydb. Why is that? I think this is coming down to, in my ignorance, I am not configuring SchemaHero to talk to the database the way that I want. So let's back up a second. Let's back up a second. We know for a fact that is the IP address we want it to talk to. So we'll set that there. We know that it's going to be on 5432, and we know that these credentials work. So let's kill that pod again, just because I have this fear that it'll get into a failure state and then not do anything. Let's pull up the pod. Okay. If I change this, we did not get errors this time. This is good. So now, does this command work? No, dang it. And there's still no events there as well. Dang it as well. Host has to be strings too. That is a very good point. Let's see if that helps. Oh, duh. That, whoop, sorry. I was going to say, I thought that even though VS Code was highlighting that differently, that it still treated IP addresses as strings in YAML. So that did not change anything from the sound of it, or from the look of it. Here's what I want to do now. I kind of want to issues. I want to see if this is indicative of anything. From the control. Huh. So there's a separate controller for the database. Hopefully it doesn't take forever to delete and reconcile. Starting controllers from IDB. Okay. We are learning things. Spin up a completely new one. History. Shell. Still not allowed for that. Dang it. Okay. Does the table YAML still exist? I don't recall us deleting it. Hold up. Uh-huh. Was that in the examples? For though I might have gone fast. So for those that didn't see, I created a database resource. Where is it? Using params. So I did this. Okay. The name here is MyDB. And having clicked through a bunch of these, all of these have a different name for their database. But then when you go down into managing tables, the examples that they give have my database, so that the examples are a little inconsistent. I imagine if we actually used these examples, all this would work. So throws an angry error. Why does it throw an angry error? Does the other controller throw an angry error? No. So it's just MyDB. Starting controllers for MyDB. Internal. I want to try one other thing. Sure. Where's that one? Create database Jeffrey test. Cool. Oh, it's all coming back to me, everybody. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create we're going to use a database. The database name is going to be, create Jeffrey test. And then we're going to create a table, and the table name is going to be Jeffy_session. Don't understand why that throws an error, but okay. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and we have run into error after error. This has been kind of a rough stream. I am almost certain that this is failing because the SchemaHero controller can't connect to the database, which I am almost certain is because I have misconfigured something wrong. So I get to have fun trying to figure out why it is misconfigured and what went wrong. So I'm sorry, this was not necessarily the stream that everybody wanted, but this is the stream that we got. Like I said, I post the stream notes in here. I'll be running a history and just pretty much copying and pasting everything that I ran to get to this point. I'm going to also post what my assumption of what is wrong was, and I'm going to try and figure out how to fix it. If it's something significant or something kind of weird, we might do another stream maybe in like a month to redo and show SchemaHero off a bit better. But otherwise, yeah, thank you all for actually coming and watching me debug angry Golang errors in a database hosted in Kubernetes. I'm going to feel like an idiot probably tomorrow when I look at this again, because I just know for a fact there is something where it's pointing to nowhere. But all of that said, hope everybody got something out of this. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, and I will catch you all later. So, bye. Can you try a different install Postgres? Yeah, so really quick, what I am going to do, I am going to scrap everything that I just did, and then I'm going to follow their tutorial, even though it's 2 years old, right? And then we're going to see if that works, because I have a feeling that's going to work. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to have issues. I'm probably going to be pinging somebody. But if that works, then I'm going to go back and look at all that I did and figure out, okay, was it because I was dumb by setting the host? Was it because of the Bitnami Helm chart? Like there are all these different possibilities that it could have been. And I don't know. I just want to make sure first and foremost the project, functions correctly, which clearly it does. There was a recent release and people are using it. So yeah. Just insights into what I'm probably going to do off camera, unfortunately. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Thank you for chatting. I love when people actually engage, ask questions, and point things out, because I will try anything. This, like I said in the beginning, this is how I learn, just out in the open. So thank you all, and I will catch you next time.